It's so great to have you here. I wish I could see all of your beautiful faces. My name is Ana Zanetos. I am an educator effectiveness specialist here at DESE, and I'm excited to just share a little bit with you all about OPTIC today, or the online platform for teaching and informed calibration. You may have heard the notice that we'll be recording this webinar so that folks can use it for reference. Please feel free to use the Q&A feature or add questions in the chat, and I will pause in a few places to make sure we answer the questions that you have. Before we get started, I'd love to just get a sense of who is here, who has used OPTIC before, who maybe is new or considering using this for the first time this year. So I'm going to launch a poll. Please feel free to just select any of the options that apply to you and share a little bit about your experience using OPTIC. Giving folks just a few more seconds to answer the poll. Awesome. Looks like folks are slowing down. So I'll share these results. We have a wide range of experiences. We have a lot of folks who have not used OPTIC yet. We have some people who've led trainings before and some who have participated in them. So as we go through, if you are someone with experience with OPTIC, please feel free to just put some tips or tricks in the chat. Let's all learn from each other. So for those of you who may not be as familiar with OPTIC, it's a video-based professional development tool, and it supports educators to come together and calibrate around expectations for teaching practice, combining both content and pedagogy. So in the platform, participants will watch a video of classroom instruction. There's a library of a large number of videos, or read a sample of student writing. Then they'll score the quality of practice and the alignment to grade level content standards, and practice drafting written feedback. And once participants complete a task, they can come together to reflect on and discuss the range in their scores, discuss the differences they may have had in their perceptions of practice, and norm around expectations for high quality instruction or student work. So today I'm going to actually walk us through that process of what it might look like to complete an OPTIC task as if we were participants in a training. And then I'll share some of the ways you might consider using OPTIC to support your professional learning before walking through the process of assigning a task on OPTIC if you were to use it with some educators. And then we'll close out with some Q&A and just some quick information about purchasing licenses if you have not already done so for your district and organization. I'm going to be sharing a lot of resources, and so I have all in one Google Doc just put in the chat. So I'll reference back to some of these resources. They're also available on the OPTIC website, but just want to make sure you have them all in one place if you want to check them out as we go through today. So first, I'm going to walk us through an OPTIC task as if we were participating in a session ourselves. And so I'm going to transition to that OPTIC platform. It looks like what you see here. And I'm just confirming quickly that you can see my screen. Yes, perfect. All right. So we're going to walk through a task. So if you were logging onto OPTIC for the first time as a participant in a training, you would see a screen like this. Everything I'm about to share is in that step-by-step page, the participant guide. That's the first resource in your one-pager, but definitely feel free to add questions in the Q&A or take notes however you need, and we'll revisit the questions at the end of the section. So again, I'm logging in and I'm seeing that I've been assigned 2 tasks. I'm going to start with the video task. So I can see that I've been assigned grade 12 ELA video that titled Collaboration Annotation Hamlet Task 1. When I click into it, I see that I will be asked in this video observation to focus on scoring the educator's instructional practice focused on subject matter knowledge and meeting diverse needs. You might recognize these as 2 of the elements from the educator evaluation model rubric. for classroom teachers. All the videos are tagged to 2 of 7 focus elements that are available on OPTIC. More on this later. And each video is associated with 2 of them. So again, these are the 2 that I know I need to focus on as I go into this observation. I can also see the content standards from the curriculum frameworks, and I'll be thinking about whether the instruction I observe are aligned to these 2 content standards. And lastly, I can see that I'll be asked to fill out a feedback guide. There is a question about a strength you observe. There's a question about asking a question to the educator, and there is a recommendation for a next step. And I'm just saying, thank you so much for letting me know that I did not send one page in the chat. So hopefully you can see it now. Thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate it. So once I have taken a look at what I'll be asked to focus on, I will start my video observation. All the videos in OPTIC are around 8 to 12 minutes long. Some are a little shorter, some are a little longer. And they're intended to just be a quick snapshot of the educator's practice. And as I'm watching, we won't go through the entire video today, but I can add tags that will help me note when there's a moment that's important evidence to think about while I'm scoring. So if I click this tags button, I can pause the video. Let's say this moment had a great example of the educator's practice related to subject matter knowledge. So I'll click that. I can view some of the criteria from the performance descriptors in the classroom teacher rubric, and I can type some notes. And you'll notice that then there's this small tag on the playback bar that I can click on, see the comment I wrote, and just be reminded of some evidence that was important. After I'm finished watching the video, I'll go to score the work by clicking that green button at the top. And first, I'm asked to score the quality of practice according to those 2 focus elements. You'll see that scoring is done on a 1 to 10 scale. And that 1 to 10 scale just allows for some more nuanced conversation about the quality of practice. So you'll see that some of these scores correspond to the performance levels from the classroom rubric, the educator evaluation system. And again, I can view the criteria from the rubric, select a score, and optionally, I can add some rationaling. I'll do this for both of focus elements. And when I click next, I'm then prompted to score whether the instruction I observed was below, at, or above grade level for those content standards. And again, I can add rationale. And then finally, this is that feedback form that I had mentioned earlier. So I would note a strength that I observed, a question I have for the educator, and a recommended next step. And now that I have done all pieces of the scoring in my feedback, I would submit my scores and feedback. Sometimes it will take a second to load, and then I'm able to click this view results button, and I can take a look at all of my group's results. So first, I can see the percentage of participants who selected each score on the 10-point scale for the focus elements. There's this blue circle here that shows that this is the score that I personally chose. And then there's also this green ring, and that's the consensus score for the group. It's where the plurality or the most participants chose for a score. That green circle gets bigger when there's a lot of consensus, when almost everybody has chosen that score, and it's smaller when the consensus is not as strong. This is actually from a few authentic trainings that we did, and you can see that the range of scores is pretty wide. And that's kind of where OPTIC can come in and support thinking about calibrating and getting more on the same page and closer to a consensus. Beyond seeing the range in scores for my group, I can also see anonymous rationale. So I can see how people scored, and if they wrote rationale, I can read why they chose that score. Similarly, I can take a look at the results for content standards, whether the instruction was at, below, or above grade level. And I can again look at the rationale and scores. And beyond just looking at my group's performance, I can also compare the range and scores for my group to other districts, organizations. You can see that 47 people participated in training. So here are their scores. I can compare my group scores. And I could also compare my group scores to people with different roles throughout the state who have participated in this task. So you can see that 15 educator candidates in preparation programs also completed this task, and I can see the range in their scores compared to my groups. Beyond this, I can take a look at the feedback. I showed you that feedback form. I can take a look at everyone's anonymous feedback that they might provide to the educator. And I can also click on this evidence tab, again, taking a second to load, and you can see the tags that other folks left. It looks like there was just one other person who left a tag. Sometimes there are several tags, and I can see the moments people picked out as evidence. I want to also just note that all of those results are available to facilitators at any time. So if you were the person who assigned this task, you could take a look at those results at any time while folks are completing the task. Before I pause really quickly, I want to just show you briefly also a work sample. So similarly, when I click in, you can see the writing and language standards I'll be thinking about when I look at this student's authentic writing sample. All the writing samples we have are authentic. They cover a range of grade levels and performance levels from Massachusetts students. And I'll also be asked to write feedback to the student, this time about a strength of their work, an aspect that I might prioritize for growth as their educator, and an instructional strategy that might be supportive for them. And very similar to the video, you click in, you can see the work sample. I can add tags by highlighting, by adding a box, by making a pinpoint, and I can tag them to one of those writing or language standards that we discussed and add some notes. And again, I'm asked to score their work, comparing them to those writing and language standards around whether they meet, exceed, approach, or are below grade level. So with that, I'm just going to pause for a moment to see if there are any questions. I don't see any right now. All right, well, definitely feel free to put them in the Q&A if you have any as we go through this next section. So now that you have a sense maybe of how the platform works as a participant, I just want to share and point you to some resources for how you might use the platform to support different kinds of professional learning. So there are a number of ways you can use the platform, and you could use the platform with folks all along the career trajectory of an educator, from folks in preparation programs to novice educators to veteran teachers to evaluators. There are ways to use OPTIC that could be valuable for everyone. So first, we'll go over some ways you can use the content in DESE's shared OPTIC library to conduct calibration trainings on either videos or writing samples. And then I can talk quickly about the ways you might use your own content from your own school, your own organization, your own district to support either calibration or coaching. So one of the most common ways folks use OPTIC is for calibration training, and it again allows educators to come to a shared understanding of what great teaching looks and sounds like in a classroom. For evaluators or coaches or our supervisors, this might be about building consistency in the quality of evidence that you're using and the type of feedback that you're providing to educators. For teachers, for teacher candidates, it's about learning from each other about what high quality practice might look or sound like. And it's important to note that when we talk about calibration, it's not about measuring up to a correct answer. It's not about looking only at exemplary teaching. It's just about getting on the same page about a sample of instruction that we're looking at together. So when it comes to calibration training using some of the videos, groups can calibrate on that quality of instructional practice, again, focused on 2 of 7 elements from the classroom teacher rubric. You can see those 7 here. They are also aligned with CAP for those of you who work in educator preparation programs. You can also calibrate on content, so what it looks and sounds like to provide grade level instruction, or you could calibrate on what it means to provide high quality feedback to an educator. I know you might have some questions about the types of videos that are available for calibration training, so I will share more about that. But for now, I just want to point you to a few helpful resources that might help you plan and facilitate calibration trainings. So there's a couple of facilitators guides that you should see in your one-pager, and again, are available on the OPTIC website. They walk you step-by-step through the process of planning and facilitating a calibration training. The first one provides just general guidance. The second one focuses on culturally responsive practice, and this resource also includes benchmark scores and evidence from a group of Massachusetts educators that we call the Content Fellows. They have expertise in culturally responsive teaching, and they created some benchmark scores and picked out some important pieces of evidence from a select group of videos in the OPTIC library. These are pretty in-depth documents, so we also have a shorter how-to guide that provides an overview of how you might facilitate a video calibration workshop. And in addition to calibrating on observations of an educator's practice, OPTIC also allows you to calibrate on student writing samples. So the writing samples in OPTIC's library, as I mentioned earlier, are from students in Massachusetts, and they reflect a range of skills relative to grade level writing and language standards. And so these trainings can help educators align on their perceptions of grade level writing, norm on instructional strategies that might support students' growth. And there is, again, an in-depth facilitator's guide to help you plan and lead those trainings. Beyond what is in OPTIC's shared library, you can also upload your own content to calibrate on your own videos from your own educators, candidates, videos of their classroom instruction or samples of student work from their classrooms. And these tasks would look exactly like the shared tasks that we walked through together, but would just have your own video or writing sample instead of one from the shared library. You can learn more about uploading videos, uploading samples, and planning and facilitating trainings using your own content with some of those how-to guides that are linked here. And you can also upload content to support virtual coaching or feedback to an educator. So educators could securely upload their own videos, and they could get feedback through the OPTIC platform from instructors, from peers, from administrators. And I just want to note that DESE does not have access to your private videos. So there's a how-to guide to support this process. Again, I'm just going to pause for a moment, take a look and see if there's any questions about how you might use OPTIC to support your professional learning. All right. And I would also love to, again, do a quick poll and just see how you, might be thinking about using OPTIC with some folks in your organization or school. You should see a poll on your screen. I'd love to just, now that we've gone through OPTIC and thought a little bit about how it can support professional learning, would love to just see what you're thinking might be the most valuable for you and the folks you work with. All right. So again, you can take a look at the poll. Looks like most folks are thinking that this is valuable for calibrating on high quality feedback to educators and the quality of instruction. I will give a shout out to student writing and coaching and virtual feedback as well, but just glad to see a little bit about how you're thinking OPTIC might support you and the folks you work with. So now that we've gone through the ways that participants can use OPTIC, we've gone through how you could use the platform for professional learning, I just want to quickly walk us through how you would assign tasks as a facilitator or an administrator. Again, you can use this process with DESE's shared content or any of the content you might consider uploading. I'm going to go through this using some of DESE's shared content, and there's an administrator's guide that again walks through this process step by step. Last thing I want to note before I dive in is that you don't need any special permissions to assign tasks. So anyone with an OPTIC account can go through this process. So if I go back to the OPTIC form and I click these three bars at the top to open the menu, I can go to My Stuff. And I can see all of the videos and writing samples in OPTIC's shared library by clicking that shared button. You'll see, again, there's over 120 videos. They have a range of core content areas, grade levels. They also reflect a wide range of quality of practice. I also want to note that these are not necessarily educators from Massachusetts. They come from a nationally sourced video library that's been assembled over the past decade or so, I believe. So while there isn't a way to search for a video in the platform, there is a video filtering tool, video library search tool that you could use to help you narrow your search before you go into the OPTIC library. So once I've downloaded it, it looks like this. It's just a little Excel sheet. And if I click the search by element of this button at the bottom, I can select a focus element that I'm really interested in. So let's say, I'm interested in thinking about subject matter knowledge with a group of educators. I can see a shortened list that's organized by grade level and by subject to think about what might be the best video for me to take a look at. So let's say I am a 4th grade educator. I teach science, and I'm really interested in calibrating on perceptions of subject matter knowledge. So I'm going to refine my search and think about taking a look at this video on crickets. Once I've chosen that video, I can then sort the library by name ascending, so it's in alphabetical order. And I can scroll until I get to the grade 4 videos. And I'll see my grade 4 science crickets. I can preview the content, so I can watch the video before I assign it to make sure it's something that's helpful for me. And if I decide it is, I can click this Add to Favorites button, and that will make it easier for me to find later on. So I found the video that I'm interested in, and then I can go to actually assign it to the people who will be participating in my training. First, I go again to that top top 3 lines and go to My Groups. And if I click the plus sign in the top right-hand corner, I can click Create a Group. I'm just going to name this one Test Group. I could write a purpose for it, and I could also add an expiration date. Once I click Create, I'll be prompted to invite members. I'm going to invite myself. You can just enter the email addresses of all the folks who you'd like to participate in your training. They may or may not have an OPTIC account yet. So either way, they'll get an email that will say that they've been assigned a group in OPTIC. And if they haven't registered yet, they'll be prompted to do so. If they have an OPTIC account already, they'll just be prompted to sign in. I can customize this message, so I could tell people why I'm inviting them and click Send. Now that I've created my group, assigned folks to my group, then need to assign the task to them. So I go back to Calibration from that main menu, and I can click Assign again in that top right corner and click Assign a Calibration task. I see a screen like this, and I'll be asked to select the calibration task, and this is where that My Favorites comes in handy. Instead of scrolling through all the videos again, I can just go to My Favorites and select the video task that I had chosen earlier. I'll be asked to select the due date. And then for some videos, I can also choose whether or not I'd like to assign all 3 components that we walked through earlier. So with this one, I could say, I really want my educators to focus just on whether the instruction is grade level aligned. So I'm going to uncheck the part that would ask them to think about the quality according to those focus elements, so that we're just focused on the standards. It's focused on the curriculum frameworks. You could also choose for some videos to uncheck the calibration feedback form. So if I didn't want folks to fill out the strength, question, and recommended next step, I could uncheck that. Some videos will require that you use all 3. Some have the ability to. It just depends on the video. Once I have decided what parts of the task I'd like people to complete, I select my group, select which people in my group I'd like to assign it to, and I click Assign. And then everybody I've assigned the task to will get another email letting them know that they've been assigned a calibration task. Participants can either complete tasks independently before a workshop, or you can have them complete during It's totally up to you. And again, those steps I just walked through are in that administrator's guide as well. Last thing I just want to touch on before we hit 3:30 is that I know some of you may already have purchased OPTIC licenses. If not, here is the pricing information. And you should also email our partners at Teach Forward. This is the email address for Linda Bellamy, who can help you through this process. The email address is also in that one pager, and I'll be sure to include this in the follow-up email as well.